Welcome back to Tiny Blue Games. My name's of course Csaw or Chris, and today we're talking about Guild Wars 2 in 2024. Today we are talking about SPvP, which sounds crazy to say because I can't even think of the last time that I made a Guild Wars 2 SPvP video. Not to mention one that's about some new feature coming to the game. So it's a very exciting video to be making. Before I jump into it though, I should mention I am a Guild Wars 2 or ArenaNet partner. Does that mean I won't say anything bad about Guild Wars 2? No, I'll say the good, I'll say the bad, I'll say the mild. What it does mean though is that there are two links in the description below. They are sponsored or referral links. If you use them, you can use them to try the game for free, or you can use them to buy any of the Guild Wars 2 expansions, and doing so does support the channel. With that said though, let's jump into the rest of the video. Alright, so yeah, SPvP, this is this is very exciting for Guild Wars 2 to have something new come. I'm trying to, like, the most recently, I mean, I guess they had this whole thing with arenas and like kind of 2v2 and stuff like that that's come. I'm trying to think of like the realist SPvP map, and I always think back to Heart of Thorns where they tried to do the kind of like almost MOBA style, like with lanes and stuff like that. Like I think they really tried to experiment with that, and that failed, and that was kind of one of the biggest nails in the coffin of them really trying to push SPvP and expansions. So it's very exciting to see that they're dipping their toes more into this, because it does feel like this is more tied to the expansion. It was kind of announced alongside all the stuff we'd be getting throughout the year of this expansion, so it's exciting stuff. The other reason this is exciting is because I get to try my Condition Revenant. I've been doing Power Revenant in the open world for the new expansion. The Spear definitely has some synergy with Condition builds, and I've been wanting to try it, but it's a little bit of an effort to switch everything in the open world. And one of the nicest things for Guild Wars 2 that I haven't really thought to use in a while is the fact that you can go to the Heart of the Mist to PvP in the lobby there, and you can very easily swap the entire way your class build plays. So it's a great way to test new builds and stuff like that. I mean, obviously you're against players, but there are some target dummies there and stuff like that if you want to just test them as well. So it's kind of cool that way. But yeah, let's get to the new game mode. It's called Push Prototype, so I have to imagine we'll be getting a more real name. Maybe it'll still include Push, but probably not Prototype. It is a map that is in beta. They've been very clear about that, both in the blog, in the title, in the rules when you log into it. And you'll see why once you get into the map, because it does have a lot of assets that are missing or reused from other places. Like the thing you're pushing is a cloud from the adventure box. There's a bunch of like voice lines from like the Colosseum PvP map and stuff like that. So there is a lot of different assets mashed together to try and test out this game mode, right? Which will make it somewhat difficult to judge, just because, you know, you're going to be impacted by the visuals you're playing with, but is also very appreciated, because I don't think a lot of major games in general, but MMOs specifically, really let players in this early in the development stage. You know, when a lot of games like WoW and stuff do their beta tests and stuff like that, it's pretty close to a polished product, and you're really probably only gonna influence like number tuning. This really feels like there's a lot of control that players have if we give feedback about the actual way the game works, the actual way the map works and stuff like that. So it's really nice. In terms of how you access this, depending on when this video goes live, and it'll probably be near the end of the window for beta, but I think it was a 2-week beta, and you would queue in from the 1 to 2 person ranked queue button. And from what I understand, it really is only this map that queue button's directing people to. So there's a really good, you know, probably representation of the dedicated PvP players in Guild Wars 2 that are gonna get exposed to this map over the 2 weeks, which is an excellent thing in terms of getting feedback. It probably is a little bit tiresome for those who just PvP in Guild Wars 2, and they're like, oh my god, please return our Q button back to what it should do. But it is cool to see. So let's talk a bit about the actual game. They do put some rules on the screen when you log in there. The main objective, believe it or not, is to push the cart to the enemy's base to win. You can obtain powerful beneficial effects around the map. You can gain a burst of speed when you leave your base. Flags on the map represent your team's best push. When the timer expires, the team with the furthest push wins. The point moves faster, like the cart or whatever, when catching up to your team's best push. So if you are kind of flipping the tide of the game and going back your way, it'll go a bit quicker. What I didn't see in the rules, and I'm kind of confused about just from watching my own gameplay, is if the cart itself moves quicker with like multiple people on it versus one. That is something that has some precedence in like other games like this, and I should touch on that. This is a very common PvP game mode, right? There's a lot of games that do this. The most obvious one that I think people are going to jump to is Overwatch. Is very much built around a push, and other games like that. But even MMOs, I think it's Final Fantasy XIV received a new game mode for PvP that is all about pushing a crystal. I think it's called the Crystalline Conflict or something like that. And I played a few rounds of that when it was released. It's very much about pushing to the enemy's base and stuff like that, or maybe returning it to your base. I'm trying to think of which way it goes, but it's about pushing. So this is definitely a game mode that I think has a lot of success in other games, which is a benefit. Like, they're not trying to invent a new match type that's never been done before, which is at least some of the work there doesn't need to be done. But yeah, so it would be interesting to know if you have your whole team stacking on it, if it's just moving really quickly versus one player. And that would also, greatly influence, I think, if strategy-wise, you wanted to really push with your whole team, or if you wanted some people to go and slow people from getting to the cart, or getting some of these powerful benefits on the side of the map, which I will state right away, I didn't actually understand or see these benefits very much. But depending on how powerful they are, they could certainly be one of the main strategies, is to have just someone at the cart kind of defending the move while you go get these powerful benefits. But that's something I'll need to see a little bit more about. So we've seen this game mode obviously in other maps. The map itself for Guild Wars 2, like I said, it's obviously not completed. It's very much got beta assets, but it does look nice already. It's a nice snowy map, which I love. I think it fits thematically well with the expansion too, which is great. There are clearly things that need to be added to it, but I do hope they keep the snowy atmosphere. In terms of assets that are missing, the biggest jarring one for me is actually the cart itself, because that's kind of the most important thing. Currently, they're using a circle, like a point capture circle, which I think is nice, but they just have a cloud floating over it, which is nice because you have a lot of visibility of where the main conflict is, and maybe that's the design choice there. But I do think there would be a lot more weight to the game if it was actually a cart or actually a sled, if it's going to be this snowy atmosphere that you are able to see. And, with a lot of these games that you're able to actually ride on and fight from, I think that would be extremely cool. And I would lean towards that direction, though I do, if they don't go that way, I feel like it's so that they wanted the most amount of visibility where you're going to be fighting. And that kind of brings me to the big difference of this game mode versus a lot of other Guild Wars 2 game modes. It really emphasizes a group fight in the middle, versus some of the other games where usually the middle base does get the biggest group fight. Of the teams, there might be 2 or 3 people on each side that are fighting there. But you almost always have to send someone to your home base, and sometimes you send one to the enemy's home base during Conquest. This game mode really focuses on having all teams kind of arrive there, for sure at the start of the game, maybe largely throughout the game, depending on how powerful those side buffs are. Those might be the one reason you'd kind of separate the group, which is really cool. I do like team fights. I think the big thing that it encourages that could be bad is that if one of the teams is more powerful, especially more synergized, it's going to be just a very quick game. You know, I had 2 game modes that I did, or 2 versions of it, 2 games, my goodness, that I did of this game mode. The first one was super quick. I think just we just sat on the cart and we had more synergy as a team, so we just kept wiping them and it was done in a few minutes. The second one was a lot more back and forth because I think the teams were a bit more balanced. And once you kind of get through the first few rounds of it, you start to have like respawn times, make it so it's not always the full team versus the full team. And I think that's what happened in the second game, that made it a little bit more back and forth, where we did experience, you know, we had our best push and then it started going their way and they had their best push and then we accelerated going back the other way and the other way. So yeah, that felt a bit better just because it wasn't over in a few seconds. The first time I played it, I really didn't understand it enough to enjoy it, and I was on the winning team. I couldn't imagine being on the losing team. You'd be like, oh my god, what happened? Which isn't great. But yeah, I just wanted to make a quick video about this. Hopefully they share more details coming out of the beta in terms of the feedback they received, and what they want to do with the game mode when it'll launch and stuff like that. Hopefully there's like some sort of incentive for playing it too, like some sort of custom reward would be really cool. But yeah, I think it's an exciting game mode. I mean, more than anything, it's exciting to see ArenaNet do stuff for the Spvp community again, and even to the scope of a new game mode and map. Not just a new skin for Conquest, but a full tilt new game mode is huge. So very excited to see that. Hopefully you guys had the chance to check it out. If you didn't, hopefully you enjoy this video, kind of a little time capsule of what this looked like. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.